Hey everyone, welcome to another Hot Take. I'm Tony D. And today we're going to talk about Beto O'Rourke dropping out of the Democratic primary. It's about time. He really didn't stand a chance. But how is that going to impact the field? It's a little hard to say. It's very early in the race still. I mean, we got over a year of this, basically a year of this now. I think, however, Beto dropping out sort of breaks the ice. And all the other candidates who have kind of been waiting to drop out now can drop out and say, "Well, I stayed in longer than Beto O'Rourke," because you don't want to be the first guy to drop out. It may be very possible that Beto already cut a deal to drop out and hand off his followers to someone, and it hasn't been announced yet. Biden is unlikely. Biden, he really wouldn't want him as VP, I don't think. He's Beto's a little too crazy, although they align on the gun issue to a large extent. His other antics really aren't playing too well, and he's kind of a clown. And, I think part of the problem is when you go on YouTube, you got to be relatively genuine, and if you're not, you get flagged. And Beto, everything he does just comes off as cringy and insincere to me. The only one person more cringy is Elizabeth Warren in her beer video. That was just, but at least you can chalk that up for, well, she's in her 70s. She really doesn't understand YouTube. Beto should have understood. Beto should have understood that live streaming his dental procedure wasn't going to be cool. AOC, as much as I dislike her, she knows how to YouTube, right? She knows how to stream. She just does it very casually while she's cooking or whatever. And, she's done it a few times. You can tell. It's just when she has some time, and that's the way it feels like in her videos. Oh, I got some time. I'll do a live stream and I'll chat while I'm doing this. That's not, Beto's felt like, okay, how can I, touch base with the kids? So I don't think Biden wants that. But he might want his votes just to sort of lock it in against Warren. I would, if I were Biden, I'd offer him a low-level cabinet position, Secretary of the Interior, and then I'd tell him, listen, you can have this. I don't want to see you in the news more than once or twice a year, though. So shut your mouth. I definitely don't think he would pick him as VP, although, again, he needs to pick somebody young. Elizabeth Warren could offer him something. Definitely would need to offer him something bigger, bigger than a low-level cabinet position, I think. I mean, I don't think Beto would be qualified for most things. But again, she couldn't offer him VP, I don't think, because people would be too afraid that someone like Biden or Warren could die, and then Beto would be the president. I mean, that's a little too much for people to take, I think. So maybe Secretary of State. I mean, I think he'd be terrible at it, but maybe a more prestigious position in the cabinet or something. But she should definitely offer him something because that could put her over on Biden, or at least get her up to Biden's level. If the far lefties, Beto would have to endorse her wholeheartedly, but and he's likely to only get about half the people on board with, say, a Biden, probably slightly more with Warren. Then you got, I guess, Kamala Harris. She's really out of the race. I think she's running for VP. She's probably going to be Biden's VP pick, I think. She's younger. She's a person of color. However it shakes out, she's definitely going to be the AG no matter what Democrat wins, because she's kind of qualified for it. And, that's an easy sell. It's an easy sell. I could be the AG. Oh, okay. And so that's a little terrifying. I slightly more terrifying is her as VP for Biden, because, again, Biden could drop dead and then she'd be the president. Definitely wouldn't want that. She's hard left. And again, going to Biden would be, a lot of her followers would be disillusioned, I think. Warren, less so. Warren at least pays lip service to this whole lefty nonsense. Then you got Buttigieg. Buttigieg. He would have to offer probably the VP slot or something pretty big for Beto to get his followers. I don't think Beto would go for it. And a lot of his followers, I don't know, it's one thing to pick your first guy, but then once you're picking your second guy, you don't want to pick a guy who looks like he's not going to win either. You want to pick, for your second guy, you want to pick somebody who's probably going to win. So I don't know if he could bring enough supporters over to Buttigieg. It'd be tough, and he'd probably have to give him the VP slot, and then he'd be kind of stuck. He'd be stuck with Beto. And I don't think they totally align politically. I mean, they agree on some things, obviously, but, again, Beto's kind of a clown, and you kind of want to shut him up. So I don't know if Buttigieg can do that. And so it might not be a good move for him. Maybe in a few weeks when Beto's kind of desperate and needs to get something for his endorsement, Buttigieg can throw him a bone and then get it. Nobody else wants it. But I don't know. It's not going to really drive his poll numbers up too high. He may get those voters anyway because they, who else are they going to go for? Warren and Biden are kind of unpalatable, and they're kind of liberal neocon. Hard lefties tend to go for these other guys. Maybe. I don't know. But Beto's going to shop around his votes, definitely. And, these other guys who are lower in the field. Oh, and Sanders. Sanders, I don't know if he'd pick him up. Again, he needs somebody young too. Beto's kind of nuts. And I think Beto, in a lot of respects, is more left than Bernie, especially on like the gun issue. And he's at least smart enough to know you can't just say stuff like that. You can't just say, yes, we're going to seize your guns. I mean, Bernie knows they ain't going to fly in the Northeast where he's a senator. That's not going to fly in Vermont. So, maybe, Bernie certainly could use the bump, but it's not enough to get him over. So VP slot, to me, it's like the primo VP for these candidates would probably be, I guess, Kamala Harris, because she has more than Buttigieg. But Buttigieg is kind of more appealing. So Elizabeth Warren could be, but I don't think Biden would pick her as a VP unless he had to. Unless they were like in a dead heat, and then finally it's like, well, we gotta break this. Sanders probably would. But as long as Warren's ahead of Sanders, she has no reason. It's actually the opposite. You want to be my VP. And kind of VP slot for Sanders kind of doesn't make any sense. He's super old. So it makes more sense for her to go to like Kamala Harris. But that's just the way I see the field. Thankfully though, Beto, thankfully he's out of the race. Good riddance. He's just such a weirdo, and I never really liked the guy because he just comes off as a phony to me. And I think, if you can't beat Ted Cruz in an election, and coming right out off that, at least, Obama, he won, and then won a Senate seat, and then he won the presidency. That's a winning streak. That makes sense. You don't lose the Senate and then go to president. It doesn't. To me, it seems contradictory. Like, I don't think that makes any sense. So I'm glad we won't hear from this guy. I hope that the Democratic field finally coalesces behind someone. But at this point, and then there's Hillary. Hillary will definitely not pick Beto as a running mate. No way. She is the kind of person who will force him to, maybe. She's got some dirt on him. But I can't imagine Hillary would give, maybe an ambassador because they could just give away ambassadorships, right? Yeah, I'll make you ambassador to Guam, or not Guam. We don't need an ambassador to Guam. Someplace like someplace down south, maybe like Argentina, someplace like that. Yeah, I could see that. But it would be an afterthought, I think, for Hillary Clinton. I definitely don't think she would make him VP. No way. Too much scariness from the part of the people, like, ooh, if she dies, then it'll be Beto. Ugh. So, anyhow, that's the election as it stands now, and Trump's just chugging along. Let's do an impeachment one next.